Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the School District of Waukesha Board of Education. Full board meeting. Tonight is February 8th, 2023. Please stand if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sue, would you please take the roll call?
Mark Borowski.
Here.
Corey Montiel. Carrie Kozlowski. Here. Markel Moore.
Here.
Joseph Como.
Here.
Patrick McCaffrey. Anthony Zenobia.
Here.
Karen Robertson. Here. Kelly Piasek.
Here. Mr. Montijo and Mr. McCaffrey are excused this evening. Sue, can you please verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. We're going to begin our meeting tonight with bright lights, and tonight we have representatives from the dance teams across our district who competed at state in lacrosse last weekend.
Yes.
Dr. Siebert?
All right. Well, this is very exciting. Thank you, Dr. Piasek. And make your way in, everybody. We're very excited to recognize our three amazing high school dance teams from our three outstanding high schools, North, South, and West. All of these teams qualified for the state competition last weekend in lacrosse. And that is remarkable because not just everybody qualifies for the state tournament. So to be able to have three of our teams, all three high schools qualify, and they were recognized in different divisions. So we'll ask each of them to come up and just kind of tell us a little bit about their experience, including the fact that there was no internet in lacrosse on Saturday, right? For whatever reason, the entire city of La Crosse had no internet, which was devastating. With that being said, we have our coaches, we have our athletic directors, and we have a couple of our senior student athletes from each of our schools. And we'll go in alphabetical order. So let's begin with North. You guys want to come to the podium with Mr. Anderson. You guys, to my understanding, were in the hip-hop division, correct?
We were actually in both. We qualified for the hip-hop division and the POM division for D3 and D2.
Yes. And you had a tremendous finish.
We did. So the North girls were regional champs in the hip-hop division, which was really exciting. That's the first time we've ever placed first for hip-hop at regionals. They had a really successful season with that routine. They actually placed first or second at all of their competitions. And then we were seeded to do really well at the state competition, and we actually came home with a third place trophy, so they medaled in the event, which is the highest they've ever placed there. So yeah, it was really exciting.
And if you want to see all the hard work they put in, I mean, their competitions are great. When they perform at basketball games, it's great. But come on a Wednesday night when they're doing their workouts at North, running through the hallways in the weight room, that's where you'll see all the hard work that they put in that allows them to reach the heights they do.
That's awesome. Wednesday. Yeah. Girls, anything you'd like to say about your season and the state tournament?
We also have no seniors on our team. We haven't for 2 years. We have a really young team. So we actually have a junior and a sophomore here today representing. Yeah, so we've had a very young team the last 2 years. So, go ahead.
Probably my favorite part about the season was the relationships that I started and have been continuing to grow with my teammates so far. And I think having such a successful season has really brought us closer.
It's wonderful.
Nope.
Mr. Como.
So I guess next year you guys are going to be a powerhouse, huh?
Yep, hopefully that's the goal. We are planning that starting like yesterday.
So do you get together in the summer at all to do any sort of informal workouts?
We take like a month off. It's like a year-round season. Okay. So yeah, we'll have tryouts at the beginning of April. The assistant coach Brandon and I will plan the whole season in April, and then we'll start practicing in May. And so they do camps all summer, they fundraise, they practice, and they start choreography then. And then when football season begins is when they start doing after-school practices and more performances. So yeah, it's like a year long.
Yeah,
really no break.
I did not realize it was that big of a commitment, and congratulations to you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Very well done. All right, next we have South High School, and we have Mr. Schreier here with us. I know we have Coach Ott with us, and a couple of your dancers. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, I just want to say congrats and thanks for all the great work that Coach Kathy Murphy-Ott has done. And Carl spoke to the flexibility and the hard work that the dance team puts in. Our dance team works around crazy schedules, is up early in the morning, full season, summer, put in a ton of dedicated hours. We've got 2 senior captains here, Maggie Straub and Taylor Hansen. They qualified for D2 dance. South also had 3 student athletes, Julia Barron, Taylor Hansen, and Bella Rice, who completed Division I all-state solo performances, with Julia performing a Division I solo at the state meet. Just a few other highlights throughout the season. At Menominee Falls, we had 2 top 5 finishes, 1 in hip-hop and 1 in POMs. In Pewaukee, they placed 2nd in hip-hop and 1st in POMs. And in Franklin, they placed 1st in hip-hop and 2nd in POMs, with 2 student athletes taking top 15 in solos. So a lot of accomplishments all season long.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. Feel free if you'd like.
I don't know, I'm really proud of my team for the effort that we all put in this year. As a captain, it's really awesome to see a team grow and watch how good we work together. And I'm just really proud of what we put on the floor this year.
As you should be. Yes. Congratulations. Coach, anything from you? Or
Sorry. So kind of the same thing as what Taylor said, but this is like one of the best seasons that we've had, and it's definitely the best season that we've had through our 4 years of high school. So I'm just really proud how we've come together throughout the past season, because it's been a really good year for us.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Coach?
Yeah, so the team has worked, like they said, we've been working since May, starting our competition routines, and these girls have been working really hard. Unfortunately, our season didn't end the way we had hoped it would, but I'm really proud of these girls, and I couldn't have asked anything more of them.
That's wonderful.
So.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And we also have West High School with us. We have Mr. Lemieux, we have Coach Page, and we have Jordan and Katie with us.
Well, thanks for having us. I apparently brought 3 shy people with me, so I think I get to represent at first, and then it'll quickly be revealed that they are not so shy. But just a quick synopsis of our accomplishments as a dance team. So starting way back, I heard it said earlier, it is one of the never-ending sports. That is very much a true statement. But started off back in July of 2022, Badgerette Camp, where they took home 2nd and 3rd places for their short and open palm routines. Moved on to compete in the same routines at Midwest Competition, where they brought home a 4th place finish. And additionally, one of the team's dancers, Megan Wozniak, placed in the top 5 out of all jazz soloists at that competition. The team has since performed at football and basketball games as usual, and then started the competition season really in these 1st and 2nd weeks of January. Took 2nd place at the Pewaukee competition and took home 3rd and 4th places at the Menominee Falls competition to get ready for the WACPC regionals, where they would, in an exciting fashion, qualify for state, and they capped it off last weekend with a 5th place finish in D2 POMs, which for the history of West High School is the highest finish we have had with our team. So really proud of that. I've got Paige Lowe here with me tonight, who is our head coach, and actually this is Paige's 1st year as our head coach. She had been assisting previously and once upon a time danced for West High School herself, so we are happy to have her back. And then we have 2 of our senior captains here tonight, Katie Regals and Jordan Kentop. And just to tell a little bit for Katie, she might not need any introduction, because every time I walk into this building, I hear about her fan club from all of the staff here at SDW, and as she serves her co-op hours here. And for Jordan, you can see she's on some crutches right now. And when I saw her actually the Monday after regionals, I spotted the crutches, and I was like, uh-oh, what's going on? What happened? And she was working through it, but obviously not very comfortable. Stayed on the crutches all week, even was on the crutches out the door at our state send-off on Friday, only to turn around 3:29 on Saturday and dance her guts out and help this team finish the way they did. Soon to pick up the crutches, and here we are. So just toughness and positivity all around. Really proud of these girls. So.
Mrs. Kozlowski has a question.
Thank you. I'm a fan of dance. I don't dance. I think there's a song for that too. But what I love about dance, and I know there's some shy, you can raise your hand. How many of you are dancing in events outside of the school? So I'm friends with a lot of dance moms. So there's, Liberty Dance, there's...
I teach at a dance studio.
So are you guys doing things outside of the school as well, in dance programs and?
I am. We have a few.
I do not.
Yeah, we have a few.
This is the only year that I haven't.
But we have a very conflicting thing that us coaches have to do is while we have dancers for our school, we have a lot of dancers from studio dancers. So you've heard of our long season. We usually do tryouts in April, May, and it goes until end of March or whenever our basketball season ends. All of our studio dancers, that's as long as their season as well. So conflicting schedules are constantly a thing that we are working with. I've had many different conflicting schedules. We have kids at surrounding studios, so it may not be some of us up here, but it is a big representative of some of our dancers.
Yeah, so this is live and breathe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
When I'm
Congratulations.
I'm teaching at a dance studio.
You guys, outstanding.
You have a dancer this year, and we both had dancers last year who are also dancing on the dance team for the Milwaukee Bucks.
For the Bucks.
So like,
Mm-hmm.
they have so many schedules. You know, it's pretty impressive what they try and fit into a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well done.
Yeah. We just want to say thank you for making time to come. It's important to us to be able to recognize excellence, and we have it all across the district. And when we have all three of our high schools working together, supporting one another, and all having these amazing opportunities, it's very, very special. So we're very Waukesha proud of you, and we appreciate your time, and we look forward to your continued success. And certainly, anybody else that wants to, feel free, Mr. Como.
Yeah, I just had a question. Those of you who are seniors, moving on, are you going to have opportunities next year to continue to dance? Are you looking forward to those? Do you have those opportunities lined up?
It depends. It all just depends on if colleges want you and if you want to go. Some colleges don't necessarily compete. Some just have club dance that they do. So definitely some of the colleges I'm looking at there's definitely contenders that I could dance there. So.
Excellent. I'm sure you're happy for that opportunity. Yes. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to UW lacrosse next year, so dance is definitely an option. So we'll see you around the first week of September, second week they have dance tryouts. So we'll see how I'm feeling then.
Wish you luck on that. Yes.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to say my favorite thing. I've been coaching, I think, 12 years. I think so we figured it out. My favorite part this year is that all three dance teams were happy, cheering, and very super supportive, and just one great big family. You can see the pictures and the videos of all our routines at the different local competitions too. We're all sitting on the floor and cheering for each other, and so I thought that was really cool to see come through, that the schools are not rivals, they're all friends and they're all supportive. So I thought that was really neat to see this year, and I'm very grateful for that. Makes it easy with teenage girls.
That's right.
Anybody else?
Well, wonderful. Let's give you another round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations. Right, moving on the agenda, we do have one special recognition tonight, and Dr. Siebert, do you want to take that?
I would be honored to, Dr. Piasek. Thank you. So last month, I mentioned that we had the WASB State Convention, and that one of our board members was being recognized for 20 years of service, being our own Mr. Como. And tonight, we have the great opportunity to be able to present him with his plaque for 20 years of dedicated service to the School District of Waukesha Board of Education. Congratulations, Mr. Como.
Thank you. Can I say a couple words?
Absolutely.
Please do.
20 years can go really fast, really fast. And I just, there's a lot of people who have encouraged me throughout those 20 years. And one of them was my wife, and you guys know how much your spouses kind of give up on these nights and all the prep that goes into it and the events that we go to, and she's just as much a part of this, and really it's been my privilege to serve the community. You people, the students, the teachers, being part of, I think, a high-performing organization. We have our ups and downs, we have our issues, but this is a damn good community to be a part of. I love Waukesha, and I know you all do too. And we're all trying. We don't always agree on what's best, but we usually do pull together, and I just appreciated the opportunity to serve in this capacity. So thank you.
Congrats, Joe. All right. Congratulations, Joe.
Thank you.
We now have our report from our student representatives. Tonight we have West High School student representatives. Welcome to Lily Flaherty and Ethan Brown, who will fill us in on activities and events happening at West. Welcome, guys.
If it'll start, I have to.
Hi, I'm Lily Flaherty.
Hi, I'm Ethan Brown.
And we're both seniors at West, and it's our pleasure to be presenting today about West's accomplishments and events so far this winter.
All right, so first we're going to talk about West academics.
So we've had some amazing speakers in our health occupations classes this year. Some of these range from bioethicists to Dr. Piasek to physical therapists. So we've had a privilege to learn about many different careers, and I think it's really helpful for us going into health occupations to see all the scopes of it.
Another class we have exclusively at West is called Trek. And basically in Trek you can study, create, you can learn just about anything you're passionate about, any careers you're compatible with. You can also use it to get a head start towards like studying things for college. So for example, I have a classmate right now. He's studying, he's going to go to flight school, and he actually has a practice takeoff tomorrow. You can learn how to play instruments, create businesses, so there's a lot you can do with it. It's a pretty cool class to be a part of.
We also have had a small change to our homeroom and JIT times. So on Tuesday, instead of it being a day that you're in your assigned homeroom and planning for the week, it's now a day that you can go to other classrooms and other teachers and get help.
All right, so next, our athletic teams, they've been doing pretty great so far this winter.
So our powerlifting team had the opportunity to actually go to a powerlifting gym and lift with them.
Our girls hockey team, they've placed top 3 the past 5 years in conference. They recently just had a huge upset over the Fox City Stars, and right now they're riding an 8-game win streak that they're hoping to extend.
Boys hockey is also preparing for their playoffs, and they just won 2 games in Sun Prairie last weekend.
And then our snowboarding team, they've taken top 2 in every race so far this season, and they also have 4 athletes in the top 10 in conference.
For ski racing, their season has been very successful for their boys team, and they've won several races and qualified for state. The girls team has also come close to many victories and has had great improvements throughout their season.
And then our West-South gymnastics team also won their last home meet of the season. They beat both the Brookfield team and the North CMH team. They also put up one of the best scores of the season.
Our wrestling team competed at conference last weekend, setting a record with 6 wrestlers qualifying for state, and senior Xavier Guerrero taking first, becoming the Classic 8 champ.
All right, so our girls basketball team, they've been cruising lately, 18-2 record. They've been penetrating defenses very well lately. Maddie Anderson, senior at our school, she hit a school record 8 3-pointers in a game, and then our team hit a record of 18 threes in a game as well.
So the dance team has already spoken tonight about their accomplishments, but we just want to reiterate that they took 5th in POMS at state, and this is the first time they've ever placed in history of the West dance team.
And then our boys basketball team, they're off to an 11-9 record. Also, senior Jake Thompson hit a school record 9 threes in the game this past Saturday against Milwaukee Riverside. Ended up getting the win there. Their next game is on Friday versus McGuanago at home.
The varsity cheer team had a great weekend, placing first at Battle of the Bows and are preparing for state.
And then we have 3 bowling teams now. Just started last year. They've been working very hard. They've been improving their scores. They've been doing really well.
And lastly, the boys swim and dive team has had a great season, and they ended up beating Marquette High School earlier this year.
All right, so next we're going to discuss our West activities.
This year, Interact Club has focused its attention on mental health awareness by supporting those who work in the healthcare system. Specifically, they have made cupcakes for Rogers Behavioral Health employees.
All right, so last Saturday was FBLA Regionals, and 8 of our members qualified for state, and this was highlighted by senior Kaiten Foffel. She took first place in public speaking at the event.
So the West End players produced Video Game Palooza over the winter and are now currently working on a musical, A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
And then our esports club has been doing very well in Rocket League lately, and they're in second place in their league right now.
Next, our West students have had some great accomplishments this winter.
All right, so senior Anna Bompuri traveled overseas to France representing Team USA for synchronized figure skating. Their team brought back a second place trophy, so it's a big yippee for her.
And West had over 30 students sign to play sports at the collegiate level at signing day on February 1st, including Ethan committing to play baseball at Dartmouth.
All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. So thank you guys. We'd be happy to answer any of your questions as well.
Fantastic. Thank you guys. What questions do you all have? I think we're all still kind of like stunned by the Dartmouth baseball comment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
Questions? When you think about next few months of the school year, what are you looking forward to?
Warm weather, hopefully.
Us too, yeah.
But prom, senior prom, just all like the senior events, we're planning a senior sunset. That'll be fun. Just soaking in the last few months at West before we actually have to survive on our own.
Yeah, I just want to have fun with our last few months. I'm excited for baseball season as well. That's coming up in the spring. So spring sports should be pretty exciting for West. We got a lot of good teams.
Lily, do you know what you're planning to do after graduation?
I'm attending UW lacrosse on that pre-physical therapy track.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Anything else? Well, thank you guys for the wonderful updates, and we'll hope it gets warmer soon.
Yeah.
Well done. All right, we're now at the section of our meeting where there's an opportunity for citizens to speak. We have 12 speakers tonight. Each individual will be limited to 3 minutes. We'll signal the speaker at 2.5 minutes to begin to wrap up comments. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language, and to be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board or committee meetings. Speakers are here to address the board, not the audience. The school board does not endorse any comments made by members of the community here tonight. We would like to remind our community members of the impact of their words on others and that our children are watching. We commit to communicating with you in respectful and productive ways and ask that you do the same. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board and will refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience. Visual aids cannot be used, and the area behind the speaker and podium will be clear during public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your cell phones. Excuse me. Our first speaker tonight will be Stacy Keene, followed by Ellie McHenry.
Good evening. Many speakers last night were very worried about transparency. Where was this concern when our schools were purchasing books that equate to pornography? Where were the board members who have since been voted out? They also want to tell you that we are a small minority fighting for age-appropriate books. Please don't listen to that. There is an army out there They voted for you to tackle this. They are the majority. I have spent hours researching how balanced our libraries are. I say with 100% certainty they are not balanced. Our libraries are filled with books which reflect one ideology and one political view. I searched for conservative figures, authors, and topics, and there are not many in our libraries. That's what started my book research. If last night's speakers are truly interested in intellectual freedom and fostering free thinking, then I hope they demand more titles with a different view than theirs. If they actually researched like I have, they would see how one-sided our collection of books really is. I am willing to bet no one will look into this or demand our libraries become truly balanced. Also, where are we with making sure iPads are safe outside of school walls? My children were pulled immediately to fix their iPads, yet I know parents who have seen nothing change. Their children do not have a single filter once they leave the school building. Did the tech department only tackle the squeaky wheels, then hope we would forget? This needs to be addressed and fixed immediately. I will end my book comments with a request. If someone doesn't agree with removing a sexually explicit book, I encourage them to check out the book they would like to see returned to the shelves from the public library. The list of books can be found right on our district website. You can't get more transparent than that. Then please read the excerpts which prompted the removal at a board meeting. Then tell us why they want minors reading very detailed descriptions of sexual acts. Why is this educational, and why does a 12, 13, or even a 16-year-old need to read it for intellectual freedom? And finally, an explanation of why taxpayers should pay for minors to read porn. So now on to something much more positive. You all ran on a platform of improving academic outcomes. Based on what I heard last night, I am
30 seconds.
So encouraged by the results discussed. It seemed the programs that have been put in place are starting to help our children. I am also impressed to hear about the transparency of these results on the dashboard. Keep up the good work, board members, administration, and most importantly, the teachers making it happen in the classroom.
Thank you. Ellie McHenry, followed by Renee Messerschmidt.
There must be counterpoint. So far, this board has proposed and passed items about banning apps, altering curriculum, dress codes for staff, banning books, a resolution about parental rights, and now the proposal of the month is a change in how the district decides which books will be purchased for the school libraries. I will not get into how this new process will work because others have already done that. But I would like to point out that all of the previously listed resolutions and changes have nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with the problems improving the math scores, closing the achievement gap, or getting our students at grade level. I thought that the focus of this board was going to be about raising the test scores and getting kids up to speed academically. What happened to that? When are you going to start addressing that? While you are busy coming up with politically motivated changes for the district, there are students in the classrooms who are not making the progress the way they should. There are many reasons for that. Large class sizes, for one. 26 kids in a kindergarten class with little to no support is not going to get them on grade level. Staff turnover continues to be an issue, with 6 more resignations in February. Disruptive behaviors in the classroom is ongoing, with staff and administration being physically attacked on occasion. What are you doing about that? I know that book purchasing policies are one of the things on the WizRed to-do list, but your plan is the opposite of what we need. Book purchases nationwide have traditionally been in the hands of the librarians. Most librarians are required to have master's degrees, teaching licenses, or both. They search the catalogs, brochures, and literary magazines to find the award-winning and recommended books for the students. Children like books that they can identify with. They want to see books with kids in situations that they have experienced too. They also like to read about things they wish they could do, like skate or ride horses. Books let you time travel, live your dreams, and sometimes they help you through tough times. Instilling a love of reading is key to success in school. You do that by keeping your book selection current and, most importantly, accurate. Children are great judges of character. They know when they are being told a lie. They know when they are being sold a bill of goods. Children should have access to all kinds of books. The more books they read, the better they will read. It is the role of the parent to monitor and track what their children are reading, but only for their own children. The policy in place for purchasing books has been effective for many years. Parents have the means to find out what their children are reading or checking out, but only for their own children. What my child reads is my business. The library should offer a wide variety of books at all levels. It is up to each and every parent to decide what their child reads. The library belongs to all of us, and the money used to buy the books belongs to all of us. The process works. Leave it alone.
Your time is up.
Thank you. Renee Messerschmidt, followed by Matt Messerschmidt.
Evening. I would like to recap yesterday's T&L discussion regarding the complaints concerning educational materials and library materials. There was some great discussion regarding the proposed policy changes, and I'm glad you didn't just push it through. But there was some lack of discussion regarding the complaints towards this policy, the biggest being the deletion of the open forum where the public can address the board regarding the removal of educational and library materials, not notifying the public when materials are being removed and why, the removal of the procedure from policy, reducing the procedure to an informal library media handbook, and the ability to change the removal procedure without voting about it at a board meeting. Nobody in this community wants pornography to be accessible to children. That's not what the public's concerns are addressing. The concerns are for the ease of someone to censor material based on bigoted beliefs under the guise of protecting our children, where a complaint can be submitted and a committee votes to remove the book behind closed doors without the public being the wiser. Even with the non-discriminatory paragraph added to the proposed policy, there's no way for the public to monitor that the committee and board are following the non-discriminatory policy. There's no checks and balances. This is the lack of transparency that the community continuously hounds you about. What was the whole point of passing the Parental Rights and Transparency Resolution if you intend to censor the public's awareness? During the discussion regarding the proposed policy change, an additional concern arose to reduce the 9-member material removal committee down to 3. It's pretty easy to find 3 members who agree with your beliefs versus 9. I urge the committee to listen to the concerns that fellow board member Joe Como stated. He has the most experience dealing with this issue, having gone through it, and he suggested that you leave the 9-member committee intact to allow more input when handling delicate situations such as the removal of a book. Cutting corners is not the way to handle these issues. As the suggested policy stands, it violates the Parental Rights and Transparency Resolution. There wasn't even a need to change the old policy that worked perfectly, other than to censor the public awareness. Please listen to the community, put the procedure for the removal back into the policy, and make it an open forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Messerschmidt, followed by Beverly Bradford.
I'm here to speak against the proposed changes to policy 9130-01. You are changing a policy that has checks and balances. No one here tonight speaking against the changes is asking to stop the process to review books and possible bans. We are asking to keep the current policy in place. The policy makes it a fair process to propose a ban and for an appeals process. However, the proposed policy does not make suggested material ban public knowledge if a ban is upheld. The T&L committee has even suggested to reduce the number of committee members from 9 to 3, making it easier for banned books on fewer opinions. These libraries are in public schools. Emphasis on public. The definition of public is of or concerning the people as a whole. This proposed process, takes away the concerns of the people as a whole and lets a few individuals make policies that affect the whole. I am pretty sure every board member and many in this audience have a book at home that they let their children read that contains incest, rape, bestiality, murder, such as stoning. I am referring to the Bible. If the Bible is appropriate, no other book should be banned. As parents, it is our responsibility to monitor our kids' reading, writing, and media materials. The school responsibility is to give our kids different points of views, different pathways, and every opportunity to learn. If these materials are inappropriate for your child, it is your responsibility to not allow your child to read or view that material. And it is not the school's. And then last, I'd like to say that I was greatly offended last night by being called a pedophile at last night's meeting. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I am a man enough not to wear a shirt to the school board meeting, to emphasize that.
Thank you. Beverly Bradford, followed by Amy Brooks.
Hi, I'm actually speaking for Mitzi Keetle tonight. She spoke at the T&L committee meeting last night and was not able to be here tonight. So these are her words. Last night, sitting here during the public comments, I was not only uncomfortable, but I felt threatened. While 6 of us speakers respectfully followed your expectations, another speaker did not refrain from using inappropriate language with little regard for the impact on others, as well as children who may have been watching. 6 of us were blatantly mischaracterized and seemingly accused of accepting pedophilia. There was no action by the presiding officer to redirect the comments, channel them to the board rather than the audience, or mute the mic. The situation created an atmosphere of heightened conflict and likely one of suppression of further comments by people who say, "Why should I stick my neck out for that?" You have a policy in place. Please enforce it. What played out is actually a prime example of why you should not be moving the complaints for library materials out of policy, out of a public forum, where oversight is clearly present and one person cannot demean or misrepresent another. Though not easily, I hunted for and eventually located the spreadsheet of books being reviewed. I could see if they were kept as is, moved to a higher level, or removed. I did not see a date by which anything could be appealed. If it wasn't clear enough last night, because this is a publicly funded and serving institution, I expect there to be literature which reflects the breadth of the community. I don't expect things to always be decided in my favor, but I do expect an open, easily accessible due process when it comes to something so important as the free expression of ideas and intellectual freedom. And now, speaking as Beverly Bradford, I have sent you all a letter on the issue of moving the policy into a handbook, and I hope that will be part of your reading and public record. And I was able to watch the meeting last night, and I was frankly very happy I was not here, because I would have felt unsafe also if I was here. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Amy Brooks, followed by Paul Reese.
I'm here tonight as a parent of 2 children in the district to address the board directly regarding its rhetoric, dialogue, and resolutions affecting our students. Many people here, including myself, have grown up navigating a social, cultural, and media landscape that was made for us. We have been the norm, and seeing ourselves reflected in those contexts affirms us as humans. Many others do not have that experience, and their identity has been erased from our common culture, or even worse, singled out as insidious or shameful. I reject the idea that someone's existence is controversial or political, and I call into question that some adults in this community come to this public forum in order to articulate just how deeply and frequently they think about the sexuality of people they don't know or even care to know. I believe that's what's inappropriate. I have heard many students speak to you about how new policies and resolutions have affected them. They are well-spoken and did a lot of educating, which is quite frankly not their role. It is on you to understand that these are fundamental aspects of our students' lives. It is on you to learn more about how you can better support them. Whatever your personal beliefs are surrounding LGBTQ communities is a moot point because your role is to serve these students. They have told you that the discourse surrounding their identities and your subsequent actions have resulted in them feeling less safe. When the term parental rights refers only to restricting access to certain topics, it's clear that it simply means intentional discrimination, willful ignorance, and arbitrary censorship. Its resolution by this board represents a cognitive dissonance that worries me. Instead of banning a topic or text because it makes you feel uncomfortable, examine where that discomfort comes from. Don't use it as justification for limiting or erasing learning opportunities. Insisting that both sides be taught implies that every issue exists on a binary. It doesn't. Assuming all perspectives or sides are equally factual, ethical, or valid actually hinders the critical thinking process. It's also reductive and underestimates the capabilities of our students. In addition, the sheer act of censorship sends the message that knowledge is dangerous and that our educational institutions cannot be trusted. Learning is dependent on trust and curiosity. This resolution weakens both of those things. This is a body that has the power to develop welcoming environments that challenge our students with sound curriculum, facilitated by the data-driven work of talented educators versed in best practices. To me, those would be my parental rights. Unfortunately, it appears that this board favors handing over control of my own children's learning experiences to parents who think their personal beliefs should be prioritized not only above mine, but above the expertise of their teachers.
30 seconds.
Data shows huge numbers of Waukesha students are not college ready. I urge the board to invest its time in district resources instead of on parental rights that are in no way being infringed upon to our collective responsibilities. Let's collaborate to ensure every child has access to a rigorous and relevant education that will encourage them to reach their potential. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Reese, followed by Diane Voigt.
Good evening. Joe, if you were a car, you'd qualify for collector plates. I want to go on. So if I were to give a kid or a child tobacco, would I be a bad parent? Of course, that would be a bad parent if you give a child tobacco. If you give a child alcohol, is that a bad parent? I think we all agree, yes, that is a bad parent. If you give a child drugs, is that a bad parent? Yes, that's a bad parent. And if you give a child pornography, is that a bad parent? Yes, that is a bad parent. And if you give my child it, you're despicable, and I'm going to stand up and fight for it. I sit here and listen to people talk about this high-mindedness they have, that you just give kids anything they want to read, and it's going to be great for them. They're just going to, their minds are going to magically expand into these wonderful universes, into all this magic of reading. We see that in this town, Waukesha. Anything ever happened there? Was there anything that ever happened here? Some with readings, some Slender Man story, right? The kids got into it because kids aren't ready for every aspect that adults are ready for. And when they got into it, they almost killed another student. In middle school, this level of violence that was read about, that was propagated on these kids, that was, it's absurd to think anything like other than that. We talk about philosophy, and we want to talk about philosophy. We've talked about Looking for Alaska. Looking for Alaska was a piece of trash, and it was about a girl committing suicide. I was here for that. I knew what went on and how the board worked with that. Then you will talk about things like Animal House or 1984. This isn't real high philosophy. It's a look at how society works. If you want to get into other things, it would be like Crime and Punishment, where you're looking at right and wrong and how things affect you. Now you're getting into high levels of philosophy and what things work. When you talk about the Bible and what it says, again, you're talking right and wrong. When ignoramuses speak about it, saying something about incest, it would have to. Because if you go back to the beginning, when man and woman started, and there were only a handful of people whenever man traveled, that's what happened. The only thing that ever spoke against incest, the first time you see anything, when God said, that's enough, now you're big enough, and now you stop doing this, was when God gave Moses the law. So there's all sorts of philosophy, and if I went through my beliefs and my philosophy and had them taught in class, why would they be upset? Thanks.
Diane Voigt, followed by Keith Best.
Good evening. My name is Diane Voigt, and I have serious concerns about the decisions made at the January HR and board meetings. due to lack of transparency and a series of deliberate attacks on the LGBT community. Staff dress and grooming guidelines were posted in board docs as a discussion item that drew a lot of attention before most of that draft was dropped from consideration, except for a section that states staff are not permitted to wear or display on their person any item such as lanyards, masks, and pins, buttons that may be considered political, controversial, or divisive. Face masks must be a solid color and non-cloth. HR meetings are not recorded or broadcast for public review, but that didn't stop the board from voting just minutes later to approve that revised policy 8.0. Is that transparency? What does this added section actually mean? By administrative interpretation, it was the board's intent to ban rainbows and safe space buttons. Aren't rainbow lanyards and safe space buttons symbolic speech? A precedent was set in 1969 in the Tinker versus Des Moines case, allowing the wearing of black armbands as symbolic speech. The U.S. Supreme Court determined that neither students nor teachers shed their right to symbolic speech at the schoolhouse gate. The safe space buttons have been worn for about a year without disruption to let all kids feel welcome in our public schools. To ban them seems to be unconstitutional and a clear violation of First Amendment rights. Related concerns began last year with the elimination of welcoming signs that again included rainbows. Last month, under the guise of so-called parental rights, teachers were told not to welcome all students or let them feel safe at school. For a third time, the target of your policies is the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender population that have rights too. This marginalized student group is 4 times more likely to attempt suicide. We must be concerned about their mental health and well-being. In the resolution, you've directed the superintendent to develop or confirm procedures to the extent allowed by state and federal law. Since you're targeting members of a protected class, are any of these initiatives enforceable? Are they ethical
30 seconds.
if you claim all students deserve to feel welcome at school, regardless of sexual orientation? Why did we lose so many good educators and administrators last year? Could it be because this board is putting the staff into an uncomfortable situation with policies that are against their core belief to create a safe learning environment for all students? Please don't enforce these policies, or I fear we will cause the loss of many more fine, caring educators.
Thank you. Keith Best, followed by James Marquin.
Good evening, everyone. I would just like to say that my family and I are against banning books, but I've been fortunate enough to attend numerous presentations from a gentleman by the name of Dr. Duke Pesta. In these, I've seen examples of books that have, if I read from them, and this, I would be subject to arrest, promoting child pornography. I've seen pictures in some of these books that you could not put up on these screens. Now, I just want to stress to all of you 2 words: age appropriate. I appreciate the work that you do. Keep up the good work, and thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. James, I apologize, I can't read your last name. Marquin?
Yeah.
Okay. Followed by Michelle Halaska. Go ahead.
My name is James Marquin, and I graduated from Waukesha South in 2020. I spent my entire K-12 career in the district, as my siblings currently do, and I wanted to talk to the board tonight to voice my own opinions, although I do not expect it to do much, as the board and district seem to have dug into their own misguided policies. Although I do not identify as a member of the LGBT community, I empathize with the feelings of being unwelcome that have been voiced since the district has decided to remove safe space signs. To defend that choice as removing politics from schools is intentionally dishonest. These people are human beings the same as you and I, and it is not political to say that they are welcome in this environment. To remove the signage signals that they are in fact not welcome, and I would argue that the act of removing said signs itself is a political stunt. Additionally, policies that would obligate educators to out LGBT students to their families without their consent or knowledge would do nothing but further harm and endanger these already marginalized students. I have friends who have been outed without their consent and as a result have been subjected to treatment such as significant loss of personal privacy, exposure to hateful practices meant to, quote, cure them, and even losing their entire relationship with their family. This board has an obligation to make sure that the district students are educated in a safe and positive environment. Nearly half of all members of the LGBT community have reported seriously considering suicide, not as a result of the process of finding their identities and all the questions that come with that, but is in fact caused by hostile actions that make them feel unwelcome or invalid as people, actions that this board has taken and is actively engaged in. I don't know about the thoughts of this board, but I want these kids to live. Quite frankly, this board should be ashamed of itself for what it is doing to these members of our community, and I hope that you will all eventually one day see the harm that you have done to these children. One final point I have is that this board needs to get its act together and allow for this district to succeed. Policies that police teachers and students negatively impact the environments that these students will learn in. To argue that the board should censor anything that makes them or parents uncomfortable shows that it is entirely incapable of any critical thinking skills as to why these things may be in a school environment and why they may have some educational value regardless of what you may think of them. And you should all take a long look at yourselves to understand as to why you support these actions. Parents do not know better than teachers purely because they are parents. Let the teachers do their jobs and let these kids go to school without having to feel unwelcome or unsafe in their identities. I'm done.
Thank you. Michelle Halaska, followed by Mike Walsh.
Good evening, board members. My name is Michelle Halaska. I appreciate you. I see how hard you work. I support you. I love your involvement at each meeting. I see and love how you appreciate the hard work of those who have to answer to you at each of these meetings. Good job on the work you have done listening to the constituents of Waukesha about keeping material that is not age appropriate out of our schools and approving the resolution. I also watched the meeting last night, and I had a conversation with a couple teachers at the Hatfield Whittier who were teachers there, and they had shared, and this was, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago or something, and they just said how it was a complete disaster. There's kids running all over the place, and you know, kids are frustrated, and they've got teachers, students from the colleges coming to help read, and these students, they're getting so frustrated that they just kind of, check out. And to hear how much improvement has been made, at least that's what I heard from the meeting, is just, it's so heartfelt to me. I can't smile enough to see how much improvement that is. And the teachers really need the thanks for that, because they were kind of handed a pile of crap, basically, and they really, I feel like they did a really good job with it. Maybe that's my perception. Again, I just want to thank you. I appreciate everything you guys do. I can't imagine having to sit through negative comment after negative comment after negative comment. I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine it. So you guys have very thick skin, and which is why you were elected for the positions that you were elected. And the city of Waukesha spoke loud and clear, because you're the ones that are sitting here, not other people. So again, thank you. I appreciate you, and I support you all.
Thank you. Our final speaker tonight is Mike Walsh.
Hi everyone, Mike Walsh. Thank you for coming tonight. And I just want you guys to know that I'm glad I never read the Bible now, apparently, because I didn't realize what was in there. But the thing that really concerns me is I would agree with some of these speakers that what was spoken last night is inappropriate. It's inappropriate language if and only if that wasn't the language allowed for our children to read in the books. If this is the stuff that's allowed for kids, why can't we say it as adults, right? Why can't adults say it around adults? Why can't adults say it when kids are watching, when the very kids have access to it in the school libraries? It's a bad argument, right? So if I had a little BS meter for sometimes some of the things I would hear coming up here, when you guys you wouldn't hear some of the speakers. It's there's so much misinformation, you know, the misdirection of word to distract from really what's going on. 2 years ago, you know, the board was different, right? It's changed in the last 2 years, and improvements have actually started to come to the district. You know, a year ago, we're talking about, you know, black kids have an 85% non-proficiency, so 15% proficient, and Hispanic kids 25% proficient. That's improving, right? It's all these things have to happen, you know, that you guys are doing. So you guys are trying to change, you know, the way the library books are. 5 books were banned last year. Okay, there's thousands still in there. These people are acting like there's no books available for these kids, okay? And nobody's heating their homes from all the burning of these books, all right? Because we just know this. It's just misdirection. It's a distraction from what's going on. You guys as adults, anybody that's over 18 is an adult, right? In this world, I believe. You know, now we pretend they're not adults till they're 26 for health insurance. But you're an adult at 18. That's when you need to step up and protect children. Right? That's a job as a teacher, as an adult, to protect children, the innocence of children, right? There's all these things. These kids are, no wonder they're confused about who they are. You know, 1,000 years from now, somebody should be telling these kids, 1,000 years from now, when they dig them up, right? All the misdirection that's happening out there in social media, when the archaeologists dig these kids up, their DNA will say they were a man or a woman. That's it, right? All we have is misdirection for these kids, and you guys are doing a great job, but let's put it back the focus to the kids.
30 seconds.
Okay, that's all you guys need to do here. Keep putting it back on course. You're going to have people that are going to keep, you know, screaming loud in the community saying that you guys are destroying, you know, the LGBTQ kids. You're not doing it, right? Your job is to protect them. The people that are actually destroying them are the ones that are endorsing, you know, the books of destruction instead of the books that actually uplift the kids and educate the kids. That's all the library's there for, education. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our speakers tonight for having the courage to speak and taking the time to be here tonight. Moving on to our minute approval. We have one set of minutes for your consideration tonight. Those are the minutes from the January 11th regular board meeting. Mr. Como.
I move approval as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Borowski. You got there first. Thank you. Any questions, modifications? Okay, Sue, would you take the vote, please?
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Karen Robertson.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Markel Moore.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 7-0. Thank you. Moving on, we have our WEF report. Mr. Borowski.
All right, thank you, Dr. Piasek. All right, the WEF board did meet last Thursday, February 2nd, and we are just 8 days away from the Evening for Education. We've been talking a lot about it, and really, WEF's been preparing a lot for it, especially certain individuals. So we're all excited and very pleased that there are many members from the board that are going to be attending. We have a record 270 seats reserved already for the event, and we just feel like it's going to be a phenomenal event. Beyond that, the other really current news is the 2023 grant window will be opening next Monday, February 13th, and it's going to stay open until April 7th. So just about a 2-month window there. District employees are eligible to apply. Staff has already received a heads-up email about the grant window and all of the resources we have available for grant seekers. And we do recommend, if you're seeking a grant, to seek out those resources to help your grant get accepted, because not all of them can get accepted. We'd love that, but hopefully you'll get some tips and information from those resources. Another set of announcements will go out on Monday, February 13th, and reminders will be sent throughout the application period, so people will be well aware of what's happening with the grant window. The amount that's being awarded this year has not been determined yet, so hopefully that'll be coming shortly. We want to give a nice big thank you to Sue Ettinger and Dr. Siebert's office for coordinating the Casual for a Cause program that benefits the Waukesha Education Foundation. The program raised $10,000 during the first semester and will continue in May as well. 100% of this donation will be added to the 2023 available grant total, so that's great. Every dollar is going back into the district. The new scholarship portal opened on January 24th, and other than a few software hiccups, which can be expected, the transition has happened really without many problems at all. We have already had well over 100 students create accounts in the portal, and we're working closely with student services teams at all the high schools. This year, we will be awarding $40,500 worth of scholarships. And I guess I'm just going to keep it at that and focus on the current events. There's things happening in the future, but you'll hear about those next month. And again, if you want to reach WEF or the WEF office, please email Lynette at execdirector@waukeshaeducationfoundation.org, or again, the phone number 262-970-1143. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Borowski. Mr. Como.
I just wanted to make a comment, more of a, over a certain period of time. So I've been following WEF since its inception. And when we first started out, the grants were pretty nominal. And for many years, they were about $15,000. And then within the last 5, 6, 7 years, somewhere in there, really started to take off. And last year, I think it was at $40,000. Is that the number?
That's correct, yep.
Potential that it may be more than $40,000 this year? Is that a possibility?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to make any promises, but
yeah. So and the reason why I bring that up is, you know, before it got to a higher level, there were a number of grants requests that were turned down, and there were some really good ideas that were turned down. And with the expansion now to you know, of the dollars, we are accepting, you know, there's many more really good things that the money is being used for. So it's just it's been really neat to see the expansion of the approval of the grants. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate those comments. And I just want to emphasize that, you know, WEF would love to give and reward every grant, you know, that they could. You know, they go through a painstaking process reviewing every grant, deciding as a committee, so they don't short shrift it at all. Everybody gets serious consideration. I'm sure they're all worthy. They have to make tough decisions. So, I mean, if we had, you know, an endless amount of money, we could, you know, award them all, but we don't. So obviously, everybody's working really hard to increase that amount of money, including, you know, employees in the district, you know, that we mentioned here, to raise money. So, you know, like I said, if you are going to apply for the grant, try to learn what you can and put together a good, you know, a good proposal to hopefully get it accepted.
And there's some guidelines for those filling out the grant requests, correct?
Yes,
on the
in
website?
fact, in fact, there's a video you can watch that they put together that's got some, you know, good information in it. So yeah, and you can always reach out, you know, to the office with questions.
Okay, any other questions? I look forward to seeing a lot of you and a lot of our community supporters next week.
Yeah, that'll be great. 8 days away.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. We begin with a presentation of our public gifts. Mr. Clark.
Four gifts tonight. The Horwitz Dreamer Planetarium received $1,000 from Marge Holzbog to be used towards the planetarium lobby remodel project. South High School received $3,382 from Aaron and Christy Yagfield to be used for the State Wall of Fame picture project. Waukesha School District MAID program received $3,500 from Metal Tech. These funds will be used to update, repair, or purchase new equipment or project supplies. And North High School received a 2002 Toyota Corolla estimated value of $1,500 from June Krug, which will be used for students in auto classes 1, 2, and 3.
That's very exciting and really generous. Those Toyotas seem to last for a long time, so if you happen to have one that still runs, even if it doesn't run, right, we like them. Thank you to everyone who contributed to different programs across the district. We appreciate the generosity. All right, your consent agenda tonight includes various categories for approval. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, you will have that opportunity in a moment. There were no expulsions in the consent agenda tonight. There is one policy, Policy 5200, attendance. And at this time, if any board member wishes to have that policy set aside or any other items for separate consideration, please indicate as such. All right, Mrs. Robertson, would you present the consent agenda, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, the Human Resources and Compensation Committee approved of 6 resignations, 8 retirements, 4 leave requests, and 11 new or modified teaching contracts, and 47 administrator contracts. The information was provided in your packet, and an addendum was placed on your desk. I move that the consent agenda be approved as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kozlowski. Are there any questions? Mr. Browski, did you have a question? Okay. All right, Sue, would you take the roll call, please?
Carrie Kozlowski. Aye. Karen Robertson.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Markel Moore.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 7-0. Thank you. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Siebert.
All right, thank you, Dr. Piasek. Tonight, what I wanted to do is provide you with an update as it relates to my work and our work administratively to operationalize the parental rights and transparency resolution in the district by March 1st, as outlined in what you approved last month. So to begin, I reviewed the resolution with our administrative team. Shortly after your approval, we spent time during the afternoon of January 16th, when we didn't have school, providing an overview of the resolution for the administrators so they became aware of it. I did that same interview for my Superintendent's Advisory Council of Parents. That was on the evening of January 23rd. I think what's important for all of you to realize and to note is that much of what's contained in the resolution is already in place in the School District of Waukesha, but there are some pieces that we're currently working on in order to enact it by March 1st, which include, first, communication to all staff, noting that classrooms, district facilities, and district physical assets, such as furniture, equipment, and computers, should be free of political and ideological messaging, signs, flags, and symbols that go beyond the scope of relevant or approved curriculum and do not comply with the district's and/or do not comply with the district's controversial topics policy. So that'll be being prepared as we speak and going out to staff. Secondly, we're working on some communication to our staff as well as some talking points for them on how to speak with minor students who request to be called by names, nicknames, or pronouns other than the commonly shortened or abbreviated full names, or by pronouns that differ from the student's biological sex. So we think we can help staff feel comfortable with that and allow our specialists in student services to be able to have those students directed to them so that they can work directly with the students and with their parents. And then the third thing is communication to parents on how they can change the name or pronoun options for their minor children through our enrollment office. We already have a process for that. It's just not necessarily well known. So we will make that process very clear in terms of how parents can request their child be called by a different name or request the different pronouns for their child. And we'll communicate that out, and then we'll make that part of our annual registration process so that everybody is aware. So then finally, as we get closer to March 1st, we will post the resolution on our website. I'll send a summary email to our parents so that they're aware that all of those pieces are going to be enacted effective March 1st. And then I'll also ensure that our elected officials that are listed in the resolution are sent a copy of the resolution along with a cover letter that explains the rationale behind the board's approval of it. So with that being said, I think that's a good summary for where we're at, but I'd welcome any questions that anybody has.
Any questions? Mr. Borowski.
Yes, I appreciate the information, and I think one of the more important things that you said, you know, whenever you make a policy or resolution or put anything in writing, you know, there might be some people that agree with it, others that don't. The difficulty or the challenge is putting it into practice. So the fact that, you know, you're giving some help to staff and administrators, teachers, on how to deal with those situations, I think is very important. And personally, as a board, I guess I would like some type of maybe report on what some of those things are.
Sure.
Whether it's in a board meeting or in a packet, just because I think it's important for us to know, hey, how is this being implemented? How are we helping staff really make it work? Because that's where the challenge really is, and that's where it's most important, is putting, theory into action, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll be happy to share these communication pieces that we're preparing with the board for your perusal. Definitely. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about this topic or for Dr. Siebert? Okay. Did you have other?
No, that'll conclude it.
Okay.
Dr. Piasek.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Siebert. All right. Moving on to the committee portion of our meeting. We will begin, I think that's where we are. Let me just verify. That's where we are. All right. We will begin with our Finance and Facilities Committee, presented by Mr. Como.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we have one action item and two discussion/information items. The action item is the approval of the East Charter School contract. The committee was presented a new 5-year 2023 to 2028 renewal of East Charter School contract, which serves students in grades 6 through 12 who are at risk of not graduating. The committee approved the East Charter School contract as presented, and I so do move.
Second. Seconded by Mrs. Kozlowski. Any questions or comments about that? Mrs. Kozlowski?
I just have a comment. I couldn't be more pleased with what we're seeing for success and the leadership and the management of our East Charter School. I think that the leadership there, the tools that we're executing are fantastic for the students that are there. So exciting to continue this.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, Sue, would you take the vote, please?
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Markel Moore.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye.
Karen Robertson. Aye. Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 7-0. Mr. Como.
Our first discussion and information item is our monthly budget report. Revenues and expenditures continue to be within the budgeted limits for both the general and special education funds. The district is operating in accordance with the approved budget and all other funds as well. Any questions on?
I don't see any.
Okay. And our ESSER update is our second item. All of the ESSER funds have been assigned and approved. T&L brought forth the last of the large category items last night. The administration will continue to keep the committee updated on the expenditure of these funds. And that concludes my report, unless someone wants to talk on the ESSER funds.
I just want to make one comment on the ESSER funds. I brought this up at the F&F meeting, just worth putting out there so the public understands where we're at with all of that. There was a report that was released that actually draws data from the DPI claims that are approved and allocated, but it doesn't include funds that are approved and allocated at the district level that haven't made it to DPI yet. So if folks do have questions about all of that, we have full transparency of ESSER allocations in our committee materials and on our website, correct, Darren? So you can reach out to Mr. Como, to myself, to Mr. Clark or Dr. Siebert if you have questions about how those dollars are actually allocated. But at this point,
yeah, we're 100% allocated. Darren, what percentage have we spent? Do you recall? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
35.
All the ESSER, all the first group, the ESSER ones were spent, right?
Yeah, ESSER 1 was really, I want to say we got about $1 million off the top of my head, so I might be off, was strictly COVID response. That was right when everything was happening, shut down and all that. And then COVID 2 and 3, we've probably spent, actually cut the check maybe for 20%, not much because The HVAC work, for example, won't happen until this summer and the next. The T&L sections that have been approved by the board. Some of that's kind of getting, this first wave's now getting expended, so maybe 20-25% has actually been spent out of ESSER 2 and 3.
Okay. And I think one of the key things to note is we were required, this board was required to have at least 20% spent on learning recovery, and we actually have allocated and or spent 35% on that. So we put a lot more towards that than what we were required. So I think that's something good for our constituents to know.
I agree. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on ESSER funds? Well, that concludes my report, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to our Teaching and Learning Committee, the update will be provided by Mr. Zenobia.
Thank you, Dr. Piasek. Our T&L committee met last night, and we have 2 action items this evening and 6 discussion items. Our first action item is on the approval of the ESSER Year 2 expenditures for learning recovery. Last March, T&L approved Year 1 funding, and the total of that was $3,422,150.39. Jody Landish, our Assistant Superintendent, gave a review of Year 2 expenses, which totaled $2,780,033.73. And our T&L committee has exceeded the requirement from the 20% allocation towards learning recovery, to the 35%, which Mr. Como had pointed out, and that totaled $6,202,184.12. And so that total of ESSER funds, it would be used for the purpose of learning recovery. So the committee requests this board approval, and I so move.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Como. Thank you. You know, we just kind of hit this topic, so.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder, and actually, I was inaccurate. We didn't approve this yet, so we weren't completely allocated, right?
No.
Are you okay? Okay. All right, any questions? Okay, Sue, would you take the roll call, please?
Markel Moore?
Aye.
Joseph Como?
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia?
That's right. Aye.
Karen Robertson? Aye. Carrie Kozlowski?
Aye.
Mark Borowski?
Aye.
Kelly Piasek?
Aye. Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Now my report is accurate.
There you go.
Thank you.
I will pass this off to you, though, if you would like.
I'll let you take that.
Our next action item was to seek the approval of the board policy that we discussed last evening, and which was 9130.01. Which was complaints concerning educational materials and library materials. A library policy recommendation came to the administration from Neola in early October. Over the past several months, administration, in collaboration with the library media specialists, have been working on this policy update. It was recommended that the policy language be infused into current policy 9130.01. To create a consistent process for complaints concerning educational materials as well as library books. The process is outlined in our library media handbook and is posted on our website under Section 6, Complaints Concerning Library Materials. Excuse me. So this action item was for the T&L committee, and there was a lot of thoughtful discussion on that topic, and it will be brought back on March 7th at our next meeting for action. Any discussion on that item?
Anything? Oh, Mr. Como.
Yeah, I think in emails and in some of the constituents' comments, one of the concerns was the public awareness. And I think that what we need to do is we need to perhaps talk through that a little bit, make sure that the public is aware of when we're discussing these things and what the results are, those kinds of things. I don't think we're trying to hide anything, so what we need to make sure is that we are as transparent throughout that process. So we may need to tweak some things. I don't recall all the details right now, but these are some things that I think we should continue to discuss.
And if I can get through it here, we did, as if you had seen the committee meeting last night, had proposed a number of changes. A number of the board members had put forth changes, and those will, of course, be discussed at that March 7th meeting. It's kind of an evolving process here, and I think after we discuss it again, I would think it would then probably go to the full board. We'll see, and then there'll be more discussion there. So I would agree we're working through it as it should be to get it right. It's kind of a new area of policy that's just come out, and although it came through Neola, it's new ground for probably not only us but other districts. So.
Yeah, and this came up through Neola, and over the last 18 months, this has been a hot topic. We leverage Neola to help us to bring forth policies that need to be created on current topics, and that's one of the reasons why we pay that company to do that. And I think Joe, you had mentioned that there's like 1,600 districts that utilize Neola, so this isn't like kind of a small organization. We have a lot of attorneys, a lot of experience there, and their guidance is a starting point for us. We can modify things as we see fit, but their advice is based on state statutes and federal law, and we need to make sure that we continue to play within those means, as we always do.
Thank you. Mr. Browse.
Yes, if I could just follow up. Since you brought up Mr. Como, it did remind me of a couple of, comments or questions I might have on that. Again, you brought up the fact that Neola brought this policy to us based on, the past 18 months or so, that it was a topic of concern for a lot of districts. So it didn't come from somebody on the board or in a committee. Not that that would be bad if it did, because that is our job to make policy. But in this case, it came from Neola. With that in mind, can I just get clarification? When it comes, how do we receive that? If Neola is sending us a policy, is it coming to administration and then possibly they're talking about it for a while? Because that was one of the other questions that the community had was, these conversations have been going on, and they think it's going on behind closed doors. So if somebody could just clarify for me, how do we receive it from Neola, and then what happens from there?
Twice a year, Neola sends out policy updates that go to the policy committee in the district, and then the policy committee meets, talks about which committee that they're going to go to, and then it goes forward. I mean, that's our general practice. So it goes Neola to administration to kind of clean it up a little bit, because otherwise it's just a skeleton template, and then it goes right to the policy committee. I meet with Mr. Montijo, that agenda gets sent, and then stuff goes to TNL, F&F, Human Resources, whatever it might be.
Okay, yeah, and I am on a policy committee. I know we're always talking about Neola's policies. I just thought there might have been something that happens before then. So administration does maybe have some time to discuss it or whatnot before it's coming to the committee?
Yeah, we take a look at what is there, but when I meet with Mr. Montijo to go over it, he sees the entire packet that we have, and then it's going to go right to teaching and learning, or it's going to go through the policy committee for review and then dissemination across the district.
Okay.
And it's important to note that, the difference between Neola, quote-unquote Neola policy, Neola is providing us a template, like Mr. Como said, based off of law or experience, and they're saying, in some policies, this aspect of the law changed. We encourage you to accept it because it'll keep you in compliance. There are other ones that are like, hey, we've had some experience with this. We want to pass that along to you. You can consider it. But at the end of the day, any policy that is on our book is a policy that's been passed by the board in Waukesha. So not from a general service. That service just keeps us current. The other service out there is the one that at the WASB, that one is not as efficient as what Neola is, and it doesn't give you as many things to consider as a school district as what Neola does. So that's why we elected in 2017, 2016 to start going down this road.
Okay, thank you. And then specific to 9130-01, since that was a key topic yesterday, Ms. Landish, if you wouldn't mind just clarifying, I heard what you said, took some notes, but it was last night, so I didn't watch it again a second time. You had said something like, we had a lot of conversation about this, and I think you mentioned you, administration, maybe library staff. If you wouldn't mind just clarifying who had the conversations and like what that was about.
Sure. Again, as Dr. Cook said, when they gave the policy to teaching and learning, myself as the lead of the department goes over that usually with the stakeholders that are most closely relatable. And so in this case, it was the 5 librarians. We had a draft put together. I consulted with Dr. Siebert as well, and we also had a draft kind of in front of another legal counsel to look at as well. So we had been kind of going through the handbook and going through the decision-making process, and felt good about the first draft that we were able to provide for the board last night.
Okay, so I mean, that's just a normal part of your job?
Yes.
That you would do something like that?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not like we're trying to hide a process or anything like that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And I will just add one point to that too, since Mrs. Landish and I worked together to set the agenda for teaching and learning, is that if you recall, the January teaching and learning agenda was very, very full, and we knew that February would be full, and we knew that March would be full, and this wasn't one that had the time sensitivity as some of the other things that we had to get through in January, and so that was our decision, was to just hold that conversation until February. So from the time that that policy recommendation actually came in to the time that the committee actually got to sit down and talk about it was actually cycled through a round of committee meetings.
I appreciate that, and I think it's good for everyone to know that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Okay, anything else on this topic? All right, Mr. Zenobia?
Our next information item is on the Hadfield Achievement Gap Reduction Grant update. One of the requirements of the grant is to provide a board notification twice a year on how the grant is being utilized. Co-principals Mike Elliott and Brandy Hart were here to talk about how they monitor the student data. Hadfield is seeing some early successes in the primary grades and is focused on opportunities in the second and third grade, specifically that they are taking action on over the next 100-day improvement cycle. Our next information item was an update on Math Bridges, which also was piloting at Hadfield. And with the merger there this school year, the staff and administrators wanted a new math curriculum, and the district was a year away from going through the curricular design process and potential recommendation in this area. So Hadfield was allowed to implement Bridges as their math resource this school year. Rose Palmer, the elementary math coach, and principals, Brandy Hart and Mike Elliott gave the update on the first year implementation from the teacher's perspective as well as the students' achievement gains that they are currently seeing.
Mrs. Kozlowski, and then Mr. Como.
Thank you. I really wanted to highlight a couple of the pieces when we hear a lot from our internal constituents and a lot of what the staff and the board has been focused on, which is indeed about academic achievement and proficiency. And when you take a look at what the results have been with Hadfield pushing in this new Bridges for Math and taking a look at just how much they're seeing in an improvement to date is pretty remarkable. I think it's exciting. I think that we heard it from Mr. Elliott and Ms. Hart that they're excited about it. They're engaged, the students are engaged, and we're starting to see improvement and traction within achievement, growth, and proficiency. I think these are really big wins to celebrate. It's moving forward. It's not, right, it's a turtle running, whatever that is, peanut butter. It's slow results. Sorry, I hope they never repeat that. But But we're making small but significant strides. And we'll see that not only within the Hadfield program, but we also saw it with the new curriculum that Mr. Zenobia will talk about at the high school level for the ELA. It's really exciting to see. It's exciting to have curriculum in the hands of the teachers that is uniform, that they can work with each other. They're on the same units. It pays dividends with the staff, and it shows up in the results for the students. And these are the things that we should be talking about and celebrating.
Mr. Como.
And if Mr. Elliott and Ms. Hart brings the energy that they brought here last night, day in and day out, boy, and Ms. Palmer for that matter too, fantastic leaders. Just hats off to them.
Like a herd of turtles running through peanut butter.
There you go.
But faster. I see a TikTok video coming, but we'll move on. Mr. Moore, yes.
A couple weeks ago, I had a chance to visit Hatfield and speak about the Bridges program. I want to kind of reiterate what Mr. Como and Ms. Kozlowski said, that this is an awesome program for students at Hatfield and for our students throughout the district. This program is a win-win for teachers and students because it allows teachers to collaborate with one another to stay on curriculum pace, but also allows students to collaborate, and it gives students an avenue to kind of solve problems differently than what we had to solve them with when we were in school. But not only that, it actually enhances more than their math skills, it enhances their communication skills as well, and I was able to witness that at my visit at Hatfield. So kudos to the team at Hatfield, the students, and the community.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, Mr. Zenobia.
Our next information item was on the K through 12 music update. Part of our music programming in the district was presented by teachers Jennifer Schwingle, Joy Hyland, and Courtney Gildersleeve were all present and shared information regarding the overall program model, the enrollment trends, the curriculum developments, and the highlights of the program at the elementary and secondary levels. Look for highlights of upcoming musical events over the next few months happening all across the district that will be posted on the website.
And I'm just going to add to that. Mr. Como, go ahead.
It's okay.
Just to reiterate, in our conversation last night in the materials that the music teachers shared with us, is just how many events and activities there are across the district that really celebrate the talents of our students. So as we work to potentially get that all in one place, you can check the different school websites. Those events are posted. I know there's highlight events that are on the district's main website. And then we just continue to learn about more and more things from the theater perspective and other performances. But there's a lot. So if anybody needs something to do almost every evening from now until June, there's probably something available. Mr. Coleman.
One of the things I wanted to point out, the students who do take up music, and Jody, you may have more details on this than me, but their learning abilities and their intellectual capabilities increase as they learn to sing, to play instruments, to participate in band or an orchestra, those kinds of things. And there's been studies that prove that. Is that correct, Ms. Landish? Yeah, so that was something that we didn't really touch on last night, but that's another reason, I think, to encourage our students to continue down the path of doing these wonderful things within the music programs that we have.
Thank you.
Our next information item was on the high school English language arts, our Study Sync update. This presentation was provided a second update on the implementation of Study Sync, which is the curricular resource being used in grades 9 to 12. The student achievement data from the first semester, our common assessments, professional development provided to the teachers, and our next steps as we begin the second semester of implementation was shared. In coming months, the committee will be asked to approve specific titles in each grade level unit in the Study Sync resource. Unit 1 and 2 resources for grades 9 to 12 will be up next. And our fifth area of information was on the KPIs for the high school GPA. Over the last few months, TNL has been given monthly updates on our October approved KPIs, and they have shown that the new TNL dashboard, where they are shown on the new TNL dashboard, have been provided with a timeline for reporting out progress on each KPI. The purpose of this report was to provide a summary of the district's student performance in alignment with those KPIs. And the indicator was 80% of students would have a GPA of 2.8 or higher when they graduate the district. Jen Gennerman, our data specialist, gave an update on the dashboard enhancements to Wise Local that are an integral part of our accountability process. As part of our continuous improvement work, we'll be bringing forward administrators to talk about how they are putting the KPIs into action in their schools. The North High School principal, Tom Schlemmo, and associate principal, Christina Alley, with the first team to explain the ways in which they are securing accountability at the school, department, and classroom levels around all these KPIs with some very positive results for the students at North. The final area of information was an update on our common school fund purchases. The list of the book titles were acquired for January, and all the financial information for the purchases of the library resources were included for committee review and discussion. And that concludes the TNL report. Our next meeting is here Tuesday, March 7th at 6 p.m. in the boardroom. Thank you for bearing with me on that.
Congratulations for getting through it. I'm impressed. And thank you very much. There's a lot that we covered at TNL last night, so thank you for that. All right. The next committee that we will discuss is the Student Services Report. Mr. Browski will be giving that report tonight.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Piasek. So the Student Service Committee last met on January 17th, and we did not have an action item. Well, actually, we did have one, but it was approved in the consent agenda. So thank you for that. The rest of the report will be on discussion and information items. So we do have 4 of those. The first one is on transition activities. So at the committee, Laura Edwards, special education teacher, Susan Poppy, principal, and Jason Gayon provided the board committee with an update as to what programming opportunities are currently in motion for the young adults within the Waukesha Transition Academy. Students participate in work readiness and independent living skills activities, including school-based experiences, community volunteer experiences, community internships, and life skills development.
Mr. Como.
Just real quick, roughly, Joe, how many students do we have? Is that the 10 to 20 range?
We are currently serving 40, low 40s right now.
Wow. Wow, that has grown then quite a bit.
Yep.
And maybe I'm just remembering some numbers from a long time ago.
Yeah, we've steadily been in the, kind of the low to mid 30s, but again, it depends on class, like just, grade dependent. If you run into a number of classes where students want to access that, then the numbers are going to be higher. Some years we just have smaller students who are eligible for the program, and we're lower, so.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, next item is Project Search. Special education teacher Maureen Mancuso presented an overview of the Project Search program and what it currently looks like for our interns at the Waukesha Memorial Hospital. In addition, she provided an explanation and timeline of the application process, which is currently open for the 23-24 school year. Any comments on that? Questions? All righty. Next one is open enrollment and in-district school choice trends. Per the request of the board, Dr. Crook presented 5-year open enrollment trends and 2022-2023 school choice information. And then lastly, discipline work group update. The work group, consisting of 3 people from each school building, the principal, a teacher, and a student services staff member, discussed preliminary, essential academic, and social behaviors at their schools. They reflected on desired academic and social skills, evidence of the students learning the skills, and current support for enhancing the skills. The work group did not meet in December, and they did meet on January 26th, so our committee looks forward to an update next week when we next meet, as far as the Student Services Committee. And that completes the Student Services Committee report.
And that next meeting, just for clarification for the public, is next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, is that the 14th, I think? Yes.
I think it's the following week.
You're right, it is the 21st. I'm sorry.
Yep, the 21st.
All the spouses would be really happy about that.
You're right.
So, okay, February 21st at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom.
I don't have one of those anymore, so I guess I'm not thinking about the 14th.
Too much information. All right. I would just like to maybe make a comment that, part of the motivation for creating the Student Services Committee was just the sheer volume of activities that we have going on between TNL and student support services. And you can just see by the number of items on each of those agendas month after month after month that I think so far, it seems like we have created more capacity to talk about the things that matter most and kind of supporting our students and making sure that we're investing in the right curriculum. And so we'll continue to kind of evaluate some of those changes, but it's really exciting to see how many things we're able to tackle as individual committees and a full board in the course of a month.
Absolutely, I agree, and I thought about that when you mentioned how that the library materials policy kept getting moved from month to month, because you have so much on the TNL agenda, and that's with it being split off into student services. So, yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
All right, thank you. The next committee is Human Resources, given by Mrs. Robertson.
Thank you, Madam President. There are no action items this evening, but we did have a discussion and information item. It was the comp time discussion. The Human Resources Committee had a good discussion tonight around the purpose for the change. Mrs. Thiede, can you comment on our discussion regarding the questions that were asked?
Yes, so we are looking to update part of our handbook that relates to the maximum amount that you accumulate for comp time. It's currently at 240 hours, and we're proposing we bring it down to 80. In addition, we made some additional updates to the handbook just to reflect current procedure and to make sure that it reads clearly.
Thank you. Okay. Mrs. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions about that? All right. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Robertson. The final committee is the Policy Committee, which would be presented by Mr. Montijo, but there were no action items and no discussion items. Anything that you want to add, Dr. Cook?
Within the next month or so, we'll get that next Neola policy series to review, and then we'll start scheduling the Policy Committee meetings thereafter.
Thank you. We'll have a busy spring. Any other questions? All right, moving on to other business. Are there any recommendations for future board or committee action or discussion items? Mrs. Robertson.
Thank you. I would just like to bring back the discussion about student dress code. And I'm thinking that might have to go to our Student Services Committee, but wherever you feel best, Madam President. The weather is turning warmer, and some of these 45-degree days were showing a little too much skin, and it's just time to address it. So
I know that that topic was on the agenda in October or November.
We've talked about it annually over the last few school years.
Was there any discussion intended to move forward or any consideration of modifications to that?
There weren't. The discussion revolved around the adherence and the enforcement of the policy by school staff.
Okay.
Since we've had discussions and movement on the staff dress code, I just feel it's time to address our student dress code, however that fits in.
Thank you. I'll work with Dr. Cook and Dr. Siebert to think about how we can bring that back through.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we do have a need for executive session tonight, and we have a couple of nice long motions that we need somebody to volunteer to read. Probably not Mr. Zenobia.
I motion to adjourn to executive session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent F, and statute 120.13, parent 1, parent C, to review and take possible...
Carrie, we don't need the first one.
Well...
Sorry. C and D.
Hold that.
I apologize.
All right, I motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent E, for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, safety and security in our transportation contract. Item D, motion to adjourn to executive session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Superintendent mid-year evaluation.
Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Seconded by Mr. Como. Sue, would you take the roll call, please?
Karen Robertson.
Aye.
Markel Moore.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 7-0. Thank you all for coming tonight. That closes our open session of the board. Our next meeting will be March 8th, 2023, here in the boardroom. Good night.